सुरगुरुं जगदेकनाथं भक्तप्रियं सकललोकनमस्कृतं च त्रैगुण्यवर्जितमजं विभुमाद्यमीशं वन्दे भवघ्नमरासुरसिद्धवन्द्यं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये देवं नारायणं नत्वा सर्वदोषविवर्जितं परिपूर्णं गुरूंश्च गीतार्थं वक्ष्यामि लेशतः लक्ष्मीनारायणं नत्वा पूर्णबोधान् गुरूनपि कुर्मः श्रीकृष्णगीतायाः भाष्यादुक्तार्थसङ्ग्रहं हरिः ओम्. So today we are looking at the 13th chapter. I think we have done 10 shlokas, right? Yeah. And the 13th chapter begins with Arjuna's question. In some versions, we have Arjuna Uvacha, and in some, we don't have that Arjuna Uvacha, directly proceeds to the Bhagavan Uvacha. But Arjuna Uvacha, wherever it is, Arjuna is asking a very simple question. Hey Keshava, please help me understand Prakriti Purusha, Kshetra Kshetrajna, and Jnana Jnaya. Right? These are the 6 things that Arjuna wants to know. And Bhagavan says, he starts with Kshetra. Idam Shariram Kshetramithyavidhiyate. This body is the Kshetra. And the one who understands this is the Kshetrajna. Etadyaha veti tam vidaha viduhu Kshetrajna iti prahuhu. Okay. So that's, and then he goes to explain a little more about Kshetra. Tat Kshetram Yatcha. What is that Kshetra? Yadrikcha. How it is, like, what are the different compositions of it? Yadvikari, what kind of changes it will undergo. Yatahacha, from where it has come out. Yat. And Sacha Yaha Yat Prabhavaha, and whatever is having an impact, what is it that's influencing this Kshetra, this Prakriti? Tat Samasena Meshno. Listen to it all in a brief, brevity way from me. Rishibhir Bahudha Geetam. This has been sung, in multiple different ways by the rishis, and we did the distinction, right? The last week when we spoke about this, we drew the distinction that when we speak about Bahudha Rishibhi Geetam, many rishi paramparas are there, right? And we took that statement from Krishna in the Uddhava Gita. Shreya vadanti anekantam. Shreyo vadanti anekantam yatha karma yatha ruchihi. So each of the paramparas have their own ideas, and have their own guna, compositions, sattva, raja, tamo, and depending on that, each one will, has praised about this Prakriti Purusha, in their own different ways. The Kshetra, Kshetrajna. So Rishibhihi Bahudha Geetam. One way of looking at this is being sounded off in multiple different ways by the various rishis, and Chandobhihi Vividhaihi Prathak, and also by the various Chanda. Chanda is basically the Vedic hymns. See, Chandas, I think we will have a better understanding of the word Chandas when we come to the 15th chapter. Chandamsi Yasya Paranani. Achadanat, like, the one that covers, the one that beautifies, like, in Kannada we say Chandagiriya, like, one who is beautified, one who's got some decking up done. That's also Chanda. Like, Chandas is also Samagana. The core meaning of the Vedas will be something, but Chandas is basically the Vedic hymns. They sound a lot nice. And today, a lot of gurus also keep only pushing that angle of the Vedic hymns. The meaning is not that necessary. Chant it; it will create some energetic vibrations, like, some karmic vibrations that we can benefit from, something like that, right? So the Vedic hymns have that effect, have that dressing up around them. So that's why they call the Chandas. Chandobihi vividhaihi prathak geetam. So it is the thing about this Kshetra and the Kshetrajna and the Jnana, Jnaya, Prakriti, Purusha, they have been sung in multiple different Vedic hymns as well. Brahma Sutra Padaihi cha eva. Even by the Brahma Sutra's words, all these things have been described. Hetu madbhihi vinishchitaihi. And I will be speaking about the same thing in a very, very certain manner. And then he goes on to explain, right? Mahabhutani, ahankaraha, buddhihi, avyaktam, Indriyani Dashaikamcha, Panchacha Indriya Gocharaha, all the Panchamahabhuta, the Ahankara, the Buddhi, the Avyakta, and Indriyani Dashaikamcha, the 11 Indriyas, Dasha and Eka, 10 plus 1 Indriyas, which is the Pancha Jnanendriya, Pancha Karmendriya, 1 Manas, and Pancha Indriya Gocharaha, the 5 sense objects. We call them usually the Tanmatras. In the second chapter, Krishna mentions, right? Matras, Parshas, the Kaunteya. By the contact of the Gocharas, by the contact of the sense objects is where we experience Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. These are the 24 tattvas being called out in the sixth shloka. Mahabhutani hankaro buddhiravyaktamevacha indriyani dashaikancha panchachendriya gocharaha. And then he speaks about 7 deformations, like the savikara, the vikara, ichha, dvesha, sukha, dukkha, sanghata, chetana, dhritihi, the desire, the aversion, the happiness, the sorrows, the body, the coming together, the body, the chetana, the intellect, the consciousness, and the dhriti, the determination. Etat kshetram samasena savikaram. So these 24 uh, tattvas of the sixth shloka and the 7 vikaras in the seventh shloka, together he says, I am talking about the kshetra along with its vikaras, right? So he mentions those. And then he goes on to explain a few qualified vikaras from 8th shloka, but we know these are the necessary prerequisites to acquire the right knowledge. What is that? Amanitvam, without any mana, moha, kind of a, amanitvam, no vanity, pride. Adambhitvam, no hypocrisy, no overestimation about self's ability. Amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, the shunning away of the hurtfulness, the hurtful attitude, ahimsa, not to hurt anyone. Kshantihi, the kshama swabhava, arjavam, the simplicity, the straightforwardness. Acharya upasanam, the servitude nature. Shaucham, shaucham is always twofold, right? Shaucham chat vividham proktam. This is something, bahyam abhyantaram tatha. So there is an external shaucha, internal shaucha. We typically call it as the kaya, vacha, manasa. The purity in the physical realm, the purity in the thoughts, and the purity in the speech, right? Actions. In everything, inside, outside, and actions. Everything is shaucham. Shaucham, stairyam, the stability. Atma vinigraha, the mind control, the self control. And then the ninth shloka, Indriya Artheshu Vairagyam, the disinterested nature in all sense experiences. Indriya Artheshu Vairagyam, Anahankara Evacha. Amanitva is Mamakara, and Ahankara is, Aham is I do, the Kartrutva Svabhava. I am the doer, I do it, I am not doing it. So Anahankara, that arrogance, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha, the fivefold dosha anudarshana, having a very clear understanding of these fivefold doshas in life, janma, mrityu, the birth, the death, the jara, the vyadhi, the old age, the diseases, and dukkha, right? The sorrows. These are the 5 ashubha sanketas, having a clear understanding, because these are all transient, they come and go. None of them is permanent, right? Matra sparshastu. Right? So Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam, Asakti, having a disinterested nature, and Anabhishwanga, and not too overly possessive. Putradara Grihadishu, in all material, Parigraha, Putradara Grihadishu, the progeny, the sons, Dara, the wife, the spouse, Griha, the house, and other, material possessions. And Nityancha Samachittatvam, the constant Samabhava in Ishta Anishta Upapattishu. Whether we gain something or lose something, having that equanimity. So these are the shlokas that we saw so far in the 13th chapter. Today we are looking at the 11th shloka. So in essence, the first shloka is Arjuna's question. In the second shloka, Krishna briefly tells what is Kshetra and what is Kshetrajna. And in shloka number 3, he explains a little more about the importance of knowing the kshetra and the kshetrajna. That's one thing he says, right? Kshetra, kshetrajna, yo jnanam. The clear understanding of the kshetra and the kshetrajna, yatta jnanam matam mama. That is the true knowledge, is my opinion, he says. And what is the true knowledge? I think we know for the fact that, yat karma yatva bandhaya sa vidyaya vimuktaye. The jnana is ultimately the jnana that will lead us to the mukti. So we are in the final shatka of the Bhagavad-Gita, right? This is the beginning of the final 6 chapters. So Bhagavad-Gita, we know, I mean, we keep repeating this, but typically it is studied as a group of, 6 chapters, 6 chapters, 6 chapters. The first 6 chapters is a certain theme. The next 6 chapters is a certain theme. And the last 6 chapters is a certain theme. That's the way some people like to do the study. In fact, many sampradayas do the study, and they call out different themes being conveyed in each of those shatkas. Like in some schools, they believe the first 6 chapter is karma, the next 6 chapter is bhakti, and the final 6 chapters is the jnana, the tattva jnana, right? The true understanding. And this shloka is alluding to that. Yatta jnanam matamama. The true tattva jnana is coming, by in understanding this clear relationship between the kshetra and the kshetrajna. And in some sampradayas, it is seen as jnana bhakti vairagya. The first part is jnana. And what is the jnana? The Bhagavad Jnana. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Right? The Sankhya, that's jnana. There is a jnana yoga. All to do with understanding the nirdosham samam Brahma and achieving that samatva. Right? That's the whole point about the first 6 chapters. And then bhakti, and then the final chapter is the vairagya. We call the last chapter as the moksha sannyasa yoga, the one that leads us to mukti. And that's why this chapter is also the yadda jnanam matam mama sa vidya ya vimuktaye. That jnana, that vidya, the one that leads us to the mukti marga, to the 18th chapter. That's the real knowledge, right? So that's what he said in the third shloka. And then in the fourth and the fifth shlokas, he explains a little more about the what he's going to elaborate. That he will elaborate on the kshetra, which has been not new. I mean, this has been spoken in many other scriptures as well, and by many great paramparas as well. The shloka number 6 and 7 briefly talk about the 24 kshetra elements and the 7 vikaras of the kshetra. And shloka number 8, 9, 10, we have seen so far, are certain qualities. There are some 9 qualities in shloka number 8. There are some 2 qualities or 3 qualities in shloka number 9. And uh, shloka number 10 again talks about some 3 qualities: asakti, anabhishwangaha, and samachittatva, nitya samachittatva. So, roughly about 15 qualities we have seen. Now, what are these 15 qualities got to do? I think we will see that. I think these are the qualities, prerequisites required for that real jnana, the tattva jnana. To understand the real tajnana, we need to be amanitva, adambhitva, ahimsa, shanti, arjava, आचार्योपासना शौच स्थैर्य आत्मनिग्रह विनिग्रह इंद्रिय अर्थेषु वैराग्य अनहंकार and anudarshana, doshanudarshana of the janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha, and asaktihi putradara grihadishu, anabhishwangha putradara grihadishu, right? And nitya samachittatva. These are the 15 qualities. With that, we move on to the next shloka, shloka number 11. Harihi Om. In the meanwhile, this is something that we do every Saturday. Some of us on the stage are only taking the lead in terms of facilitating the reading. We use this website that Shraddhaji has pinned under the room title as a reference. Not necessary we stop at this, right? Within our limited understanding, we try to look at how else can the same words and the shlokas be interpreted. And if anybody can come up on stage and share some more views about it, we would definitely welcome. But keep it to the point, and let's help each other in gaining as much clarity as possible on the Gita arthas, Gita shloka arthas. Okay, with that we move to shloka number 11. Hari Om. Om. Mayicha yogena bhakti ravyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitvam maratir jana samsadi. Mayicha yogena bhakti ravyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitvam maratir jana samsadi. We scroll down a little bit on the web page, we get something called the Padacheda. Padacheda is basically where the words are broken down, right? Mayi, cha, ananya, yogena, bhakti, avyabhicharini, vivikta, desha sevitvam, aratihi, jana samsadi. So these are the words. Basically, there are sandhis, right? Cha, ananya is chananya, no, chananya yogena bhakti avyabhicharini becomes bhaktir avyabhicharini. So there are some sandhis, we have to see through them, but nonetheless these padachedas are useful because then we can try to make a sentence out of these words. So the anvaya, the section right above the padacheda, puts these words into a closely resembling sentence. Now mai ananya yogena avyabhicharini bhakti vivikta desha sevitvam jana samsadi aratihi. Right? There are three qualities being called out here. What are the three qualities? One, mai ananya yogena avyabhicharini bhaktihi. Number one. Vivikta desha sevitvam. Number two. Jana samsadi. Number three. These are the three. What do they mean? For that, we click on this dictionary. Right? We have a link called dictionary right on the top. So, mai ananya yogena avyabhicharini bhaktihi. Now, having that deep and constant and unmixed, unwavered adoration, bhakti towards me, in me, in an unswerving way, ananya yogena, in an unswerving bhakti yogena. So, basically, being completely surrendering to the Bhagavan without any other recourse as an option, right? Ananya. No, there is no other option but the Bhagavan. So that's one important aspect to acquire the jnana. And then vivikta desha sevitvam, turning towards solitude. Vivikta desha, solitary place. Getting into a solitary place. No, basically, that is primarily because see, when we looked into the dhyana, before Krishna explains, you know, the dhyana yoga, right? He explains starting he starts to explain that saying that yogi should practice the dhyana. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitah ekaki yata chittatma nirashihi aparigraha. That ekanta bhakta swabhava is where whenever we want to study, I think we have to detach ourselves from all possible distractions in the world, and that is that ekanta vivikta, desha sevitva, cutting ourselves away from all possible distractions, all possible disturbances, so that the dhyana avastha sthiti is extremely important, is what Krishna is telling, to acquire knowledge. So having that single pointed devotion, unwavering devotion towards the Bhagavan, because Bhagavan is jnana, yogo, jnanam, tata sankyam, vidya, shilpadi, karmacha, vedaha, shastrani, vijnanam, etat sarvam janardanat, is something that we keep telling during the Vishnu Sahasranama Parayana. At the end of the Vishnu Sahasranama, we keep telling this, right? That all of these things are coming from Bhagavan. Everything links back to the Bhagavan. So that's how the knowledge is, and that's what makes it all a comprehensive knowledge, right? So that Ananya Yogena Avyabhicharini Bhakti, the unwavering, undisturbed kind of a bhakti towards the Bhagavan, and seeking the solitary, desha, confinement. And Jana Samsadi Aratihi. Aratihi is disinterest. Aratihi. So no rati, no interest in Jana Samsadi, in group of people. Absence of an active interest in the vain noise of crowds. I think that's a little bit of opinion coming in this website. The vain noise of crowds and the assemblies of men. Right? So, vain noise of crowds is added. Basically, having disinterested nature towards assemblies of men, not interested in socializing. Because all of these things are perhaps detrimental to jnana marga. So I think 15 we saw in the last three shlokas preceding this one. So this shloka has three more qualities being called out. So there are 18 qualities now we have seen so far, right? Let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says for this one. Harihi Om. Aurobindo interpretation says, a meditative mind turned towards solitude, Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, and away from the vain noise of the crowds and the assemblies of men, Jana Samsadi Aratihi, and the yoga of an unswerving devotion, Ananya Yoga, Yogena, love of the God, Bhaktihi, the heart's deep and constant adoration of the universal and the eternal presence, the same Bhakti, right? That is declared to be the knowledge. Okay, this is coming from the next shloka. This is what is declared to be the knowledge, or this is what has been necessary as a precondition to acquire the right knowledge. I mean, this website keeps telling this has been declared as a knowledge, but these five shlokas or the four shlokas preceding this one, and in this one included, the 18 qualities are the qualities necessary to acquire the right knowledge. So when we see all the 18 together, amanitva, no vanity, adambhitva, no hypocrisy or overestimation about one's own ability. I mean, I might not even know how to read a shloka, but I commit myself to come and say, okay, let me take up the class on Bhagavad-Gita. That adambhitva, having inflated estimation about one's own ability, right? Adambhitvam, ahimsa, having an ability to stay away from hurting others, you know uh, ahimsa, shanti is kshama, the forgiving attitude, arjava, simplicity, acharya upasanam, serving the guru, serving the acharya, shaucham, the clean purity, the stairyam, the stability, atma vinigraha, the complete self control, indriya artheshu vairagyam, having a disinterested nature towards sense gratifications, and anahankara, and devoid of any kind of an arrogant nature, and janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha anudarshanam, having a very clear understanding of the defects in life that are primarily stemming from birth, death, old age, diseases, and sorrows, right? So these are 12, no, 15, and asakti anabhishwanga, okay, being disinterested in material possessions like putra, the son's progeny, dara, the spouse, and griha, the house and other wealth, material possessions, and anabhishwanga, not losing the head when they are under distress. So desiring something is asakti, disinterested in acquiring something is asakti, like, not interested. But anabhishwanga, abhishwanga, I think we spoke about this, right? My child, gets sick and I lose my head, like, my there's a severe storm in the town and the paint is under distress of the walls of my building, and I get distressed, right? So anabhishwanga, not being too possessive, too attached sentimentally to our material possessions. And nitya samachittatva, a constant, stable chitta, stable consciousness, stable mind. And mai ananya yogena bhakti, and having a complete devotion to the Bhagavan without any possible recourse, right? And avyabhicharini, no bhakti avyabhicharini, that bhakti which is unwavering in its nature. And vivikta desha sevitvam, like, always seeking solitude, preferring solitude for study, because that's where the right knowledge can come. And janasam sadi aratihi, disinterested in social gatherings. So there are 18 qualities being called out by Krishna. Then let's move on to the next shloka, right? Shloka number 12. Harihi Om. अध्यात्मज्ञान नित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा. अध्यात्मज्ञान नित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा. So now we get two more, right? Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. Adhyatma is Adhi Atma. I think we have spoken enough about this word when we looked into the 8th chapter. Kim Adhyatma is a question from Arjuna. right? So we spoke enough about Adhyatma in the 8th chapter. So now in the 13th chapter, now he's telling this Nitya Adhyatma Jnanatva. You know, being constantly searching for the essence, the core essence in everything, core essence of our existence, core essence of technology. If we are using technology, right, like Clubhouse, now, always looking for, keenly looking for the core essence in everything. Adi Atma. What is that soul behind everything? Somebody is speaking. What is the soul behind this person? We are using a technological interface. What is the soul behind this technological interface? There is some war happening. What is the soul behind that war happening? That always seeking that Atma behind everything. That's the Adhyatma. Adi is towards. We go towards that para, Adhyatma Jnana. So always seeking that Adhyatma Jnana of everything. The Nitya Swarupa Bhava Chintana. No, Swarupa Jnana Chintana. What is this in its core? Like, we keep wondering. That's the Adhyatma Jnana Nityatva. So that's another attitude. Don't just be happy. Don't just stay, content with whatever surface level knowledge comes. Always dig deeper and deeper and see through the veils, and go behind and go deeper and deeper and deeper. And Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. Tattva Jnana, I think we spoke about this also, right? Because chapter after chapter, this word is, I think it's one of favorite words of Krishna. Because every chapter he brings in the importance of Tattva. Tattva Jnana is basically that Jnana that is that stands the test of time. It's not a transient time. It just stays true. Right? Tattva Jnana Artha Darshanam. So basically, looking at the true knowledge and looking at the core knowledge. These are the two traits necessary. Not that, I'm not satisfied with something that, like for example, the medical fraternity, right? They keep talking about different things. And people who want that wordsmithy to play with, right? Oh, there is a bad cholesterol, there is a good cholesterol, there is cholesterol, blah, blah, blah. I think we have seen the journey in the last 30 years. Slowly, one by one, is getting cancelled by the same fraternity. Maybe that's not Tattvajnana. Maybe there's something more, right? It's not to rubbish. I mean, there is definitive merit in the way things are being studied in a certain fashion. But what it says is that, the more we start scratching the surface, there is a bigger reality that, keeps unfolding, coming up, again and again and again. Tattva jnana, whenever we seek the elemental truth, like for example, when we today look at the periodic table, at least for about 100 odd elements, it remains consistent. The debates keep happening for the higher atomic numbers. The more and more higher and higher elementals that we start digging out, are these isotopes, are these, elements, new elements, are, I mean, we don't really know what exactly they are. So that's where the debates can happen. Sometimes, like for example, the planet Uranus, Pluto, right? Sometimes they say, okay, this is not a planet. Sometimes they say, okay, this is a planet. It keeps coming and going out of our textbooks, right? Tattva jnana is that jnana, like the lower part of the periodic table. They remain constant. They stand the test of time. That's the tattva jnana. I'm not endorsing periodic table here, but from an understanding perspective, we look at the tattva jnana as, I mean, like for example, in our society, the Sanatana Dharma, the minute we speak about tattva, we speak about the 24 tattva, Chaturadasha tattva, right? Or the 25 tattva, basically the Pancha Jnanendriya, Pancha Karmendriya, Pancha Mahabhuta, Pancha Tanmatra, Buddhi, Manaha, Ahankara, Mahat, we keep looking at, Prakriti, Mula Prakriti, the Purusha, the Ishvara, and it keeps raising up, right? Now these things, the way we understand in our Sanatana Dharma, the core 24 odd of these tattvas, they remain consistent whether we talk about the Shakti traditions or the Shaiva schools of thoughts or the Vaishnava traditions. Any tradition, some core basic 24 are consistent. Then different philosophical schools will talk about different other allied tattvas, right? For some it's different. So tattva is that basic thing that remains unchanged, the understanding of the way things are. that remains unchanged. That's the tattva, right? So adhyatma jnana, always seeking the core of everything, and tattva jnana, always looking at the permanent knowledge. Etad jnanamiti proftam. This is what is truly called jnana. Oh, we didn't see the padacheda. I think I jumped the line. Okay. I think this is the problem. I didn't. Okay, so etad jnanamiti proktam. I think we didn't see the padacheda, right, Shraddha ji?
Yeah, we did see
We
it.
didn't. Okay, so basically this sloka, right? Adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam eta jnanamiti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. When we scroll down a little bit on the web page, we see padacheda, right? Adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnana artha darshanam etat jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yat ataha anyatha. What's the anvaya sounds like? Cha adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnana artha darshanam etat jnanam yat ataha anyatha ajnanam iti proktam. What does that mean? For that we click on dictionary, right? Adhyatma jnana nityatvam, a tranquil continuity of the inner spiritual knowledge and light. Okay, the tranquil continuity is an addition added as an opinion, but basically the inner spiritual, not the quest for inner spiritual knowledge and light in everything, not only us. When I look at the dog also, I have to see what is that atma behind it, and that is where we will start seeing the God in everything, right? Sarvam kalvidam brahma. And tattva jnana artha darshanam, a philosophical perception of the true sense. That's the truth, right? It stands a test of time. And large principles of existence. Principles are basically elemental principles. Like periodic table is something common. People who study chemistry, for the fact that there is something. When you look at that Netflix program, right, Breaking Bad, that guy, the chemistry professor, he says the whole life is a chemistry, right? It's all chemical compositions, right? So the periodic table is the essence of it. Everything is broken down, can be explained through those elemental truth, right? We can just explain everything as that elemental truth, and that's one faculty of thinking. But we look at the tattva as those panchamahabhuta. There are five gross material elements. Then there are five tanmatras. Each of those elements, they convey a specific experience. And there are pancha jnanendriyas, and to receive them, to perceive them, we have the five sense organs. Then we have five karmendriyas, and to react onto these things, we have action organs. We have organs for actions. And then there is a manas, buddhi, ahankara. There are multiple antakaranas, the internal, uh, what do you call it? Karanas. I don't know what you call it. Yeah. Yeah. So these are the tattvas, the way we understand in Sanatana Dharma. Eta jnanam, this is the knowledge. Yat adaha anyatha, whatever is against this or whatever is other than this, ajnanam iti proktam, is declared to be ignorance. Okay, so when we look at this, right, so these five shlokas preceding this, from amanitva, adambhitva, till this point, I think all that Krishna is doing is that he is explaining there are 18 qualities, or for some people it's 20. There are 20 qualities or 20 types of knowledge, and for some people there are 18 prerequisites of knowledge. And the true knowledge is basically the one that always looks at the core of everything and the truth behind everything, which can stand the test of time. Right? That's basically what we see. Right? So from shloka number 8 to shloka number 12, when we see these five shlokas, we get 18 prerequisites and two definitions of the right knowledge. And whatever is against this is the ajnana. Right? So far we have seen kshetra being explained. Kshetrajna has been briefly touched upon. Now he has spoken about jnana. There are three more things to be spoken, right? Jnaya, Kshetrajna, Purusha, right? Or, yeah, Prakriti Purusha. Some more things to be spoken. Based on the question of Arjuna from shloka number 1. Let's quickly see what Aurobindo interpretation says for this particular shloka. A philosophical perception of the true sense and the large principles of existence, of everything in its existence, in this existence. A tranquil continuity of the inner spiritual knowledge and light. The heart's deep and constant adoration of the universal and eternal presence that is declared to be the knowledge. All against it is ignorance. Everything opposite of this is ignorance. Anyatha, anything other than this, is ajnanam proktam. Right? So there are 18 prerequisites and two true nature of seeking knowledge. Adhyatma jnana, look at the core of everything, and tattva jnana, artha darshana, and look at the permanently standing principles in everything. Okay, let's go to the next shloka, shloka number 13. It reads like this: Hari Om. Om ज्ञेयं यत्तत् प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते अनादिमत्परं ब्रह्म न सत्तन्नासदुच्यते ज्ञेयं यत्तत् प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते अनादिमत्परं ब्रह्म न सत्तन्नासदुच्यते. Okay, we will see the padacheda for this. Jneyam yat tat pravakshyami yat jnatva. That's the sandhi, right? Yat jnatva becomes yajnatva. Yajnatva amritam yajnatva amritam. That's another sandhi. Amritam ashnute. Anadimat param brahma nasat tat na asat. Tat na becomes tanna. Tatna tanna tanna asat tanna sat tanna sat uchyate tanna sad uchyate. So tatna asat uchyate becomes tanna sad uchyate. So long sandhi, right? So let's put these words into a proper sentence. That's what we see in the section right above, right? Anvaya. Yat jneyam yat jnatva amritamashnute tat pravakshyami tat anadimat param brahma na sat na asat iti uchyate. Right? What does that mean? Yat jneyam. We click on dictionary. The one that need to be known. So Arjuna has asked, right? I need to know about the jnana and the jneya. Jneya is the object of the knowledge. By definition, jneya is the object of the knowledge. So Krishna is telling, what is jneya? What is that knowledge of the what is that object of the knowledge? What is the thing to be understood in every knowledge that we seek? Yat jneyam. What is that jneya? Yat jnatva, knowing which, amritam ashnute, you will consume, you will digest immortality, you will enjoy. Ashana is food intake. Ashnute, enjoying is one enjoys immortality, but ashnate is basically you consume immortality. Amrita is also sometimes imagined to be a potion, right? It's in many depiction in the movies and things like that, we see amrita to be shown as a nectar, but amrita is na amrita, no death. Mrita is death, no mortality. Amrita is immortality, one who, knowing which one enjoys immortality. That jnaya, knowing which one enjoys immortality, tat pravakshyami. Okay, I will declare that. Pravakshyami, again, vakshyami is enough to say I will tell, but he uses the word pravakshyami. Pra as a prefix, is prakarsh, prakrishta. I will speak very well about it. I will speak the highest knowledge about it, or prakarshana. I will speak about it in a very very enlightening way. Pra tat anadimat. It is like anadi. It is it is the beginningless, eternal. that jnaya about which I'm going to talk about, okay, knowing which you will enjoy immortality, that is immortal, that is eternal, beginningless, anadi, param, it is supreme, right? Brahma, that is the big Brahma, right? Na sat, na asat uchyate, it is neither sat, it is not sat, it is not truth, not asat, it is not untrue also. Existence and non-existence, because nasato vidyate bhava. If it is not sat, it will not have existence. So sat is existence. That's the, in bracket, this website Aurobindo has brought in the expression of, it is neither existent nor non-existent. That's the way. Asat nanna atanna asat. In the second chapter, Krishna makes this statement. Na sato vidyate bhava. What is sat doesn't have abhava. It doesn't have non-existence. Too many negatives, right? We have to cancel two of those. So sat always has an existence, bhava, and asat will not have a bhava, right? So asat is now called as non-existent, unmanifest. It is neither manifest nor unmanifest. It is neither existent nor unexistent, nor non-existent. It is Brahma, Param Brahma. This is Anadi. See, Anadi Mat is like Anadi. Anadimat. But mat can also mean from me param. He's bigger than me, like Krishna telling, he's bigger than me. That's just a creative take. The actual way of looking at it is Anadimat Param Brahma. Anadimat is the one word. Some people tend to change it. I think there is another website that we typically refer to. I think some of them I think I have seen it somewhere, very funnily being broken down. But that gives another meaning altogether. We can contemplate on that sometime. Let's move on. Okay. So basically, I will talk about that jnaya, that object of knowledge, the true purpose of the knowledge, right? Rather than calling it as object, the true purpose behind the knowledge. What is it that we need to learn? I might be eating the gulab jamun. I'm experiencing the sweetness. Is that the jnana? Is there something beyond that? Right? Okay, there are 16 people that have assembled in this room, 17 people assembled in this room, 3 people in the speaker panel, and about some 12 odd people, 13 people who are part of the house, and maybe a couple of people or one person who's not part of the house. Right? What is it that I need to learn? In all of these things, what is it that I need to learn? Okay, the previous week also we had similar number. What is it that we need to know? Right? So what is the object of all of this knowledge? I will speak about that. And that real object of the knowledge is anadi. This is the beginningless eternal thing. It is a supreme Brahma. It is neither existent nor non-existent. And it's spoken of, is uchyate, is called neither existent nor non-existent. That's how people call it, right? And this nasattanna saduchyate, sadasat tatparam yat is something that we have seen from Arjuna in the 11th chapter, when Arjuna is explaining the Vishwarupa through his own words of what he saw. He uses this term, sadasat tatparam yat. So Aneka Bahu Daravaktra Nitam, while explaining the complete Virata Rupa of the Bhagavan, he brings this expression, right? Okay, let's quickly see what Aurobindo interpretation says. I think at that time we looked at Sat and Asat as karma karana. Sat is karma, the one that is manifested in action is Sat, right? And one that has caused the action to happen, the organs of action. The organs of action are basically, they are invisible. They are not there. We really don't know what is causing the action. Like a person without the leg can also move, right? The movement as an action will take place, right? What is it that is making the person move? We don't know, right? A person without a hand may also be able to deliver some action, like eating, washing and things like that. A person without the hand is also able to do that. What is it that is causing it to happen? We don't know. People who have cut tongue, can also taste. Right now, what is the organ that is helping in the taste? Like we really don't know. Is it the tongue? Is it something deeper inside? So there are some tastes coming. So the organs of action are typically, the antakaranas are typically non-existent. So sat asat can also be looked at as the karma and the karana or the karana, right? So that can be another meaning of it. Sat asat. Sat asat can also be looked at as ucha nicha, like something that's high and something that's low. Right? There are different ways in which, in fact, I think for the proper understanding of the word sat, sat can be understood to be the Bhagavan himself. Uh, you know, Sat can be understood to be. I think there is that Shruti Vachana. I think Sattvam Jiva. Kvachit Proktah, Kvachit Sattvam Janardana, Sattvam Nama Guna Kwapi. Kvachit Sadhutvam Uchyate. There is Sadhutva is also called Sat. There is a guna called Sat, Sat, Rajas, and Tamas. There are three gunas, right? So Sattva, Sat is a guna also. Sat is the Bhagavan. Like in Kannada, we say that, Sat Hoda. When the Bhagavan, the final, so Prana Hoitu, the breath goes, but Sat Hoda, and the life is complete. When the life is completely gone, even the Janardana, the Bhagavan is gone out of the body, we say Sat Gaya, like, Sat Janardana. And Sattvam is also called Jiva, and Asat can be interpreted. Yeah, but for now, I think for this particular shloka, and that's why Aurobindo interpretation falls back to Krishna's earlier statement, Na asataha vidyate bhavaha. Okay, na asataha vidyate bhavo. There is no bhava for, and na abhavaha vidyate satah, and there is no abhava for a sat. Right? So basically, sat has bhava and asat has abhava. Right? Manifestation, non-manifestation, existence, non-existence. I think that makes a little better sense for this particular shloka. Let's see how it plays out in the meaning. Let's read the Aurobindo interpretation. I will declare the one object, that jnaya, to which the mind of spiritual knowledge must be turned, right? The one that need to be learned, by fixity in which the soul clouded here recovers and enjoys its nature and original consciousness of immortality. Basically, mritatva is ashubha, right? Dukkha, dosha, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, all these kind of ashubhatva. The only way to get rid of this and then seek that immortality, the state of immortality, is by having a clear understanding of that, having a fixity around the knowledge of that jnaya, the one to be known, right? That jnaya is the eternal supreme Brahman. It is called neither Sat nor Asat. Okay, let's keep it there. I think when we do repeat contemplation on these points, maybe we will have a new eureka moment at one point in time. So we will do that. So, Jnaya yattat pravakshyami. What is that Jnaya? I will declare that. Yajnatva amritam ashnute. Knowing which you will acquire immortality. Anadimat param brahma. That is the beginningless parabrahma. Nasat tat na asat uchyate. This is neither called as sat nor asat. Right? That's the core of this sloka number 13. Okay, let's go to the next one, next shloka, shloka number 12. In the meanwhile, needless to say, if anybody has any point to make, any observation, sadachara, good point, Shriyeji. Sada achara, it's the regular practice, sat achara. In fact, Manusmriti gives that. Manusmriti has a very beautiful way. So basically, dharma. There is a point in Manusmriti. Okay, basically, I'm digressing because I'm looking at a comment from Shri Yeji in the chat window. So please refer to that. So in the Manusmriti, the second chapter talks about the Dharma Lakshana. You know, it says, Vedo khila dharma moolam smriti shilesha tadvidam acharaschaiva sadhunam atmanas tushtirevacha. These are the four dharma lakshana. Dharma is comprising of all the wisdom from Veda. Akhila Veda. Vedokhilo Dharma Moolam. The source of the Dharma is Vedakhila, complete Vedic wisdom. And Smriti Shilecha Tadvidam. And it also has the memory, the Smriti of the noble people of the society. It recounts the Smriti. Smriti are also text, right? Dharma Granthas are also called Smritis. And Acharaha cha eva sadhunam. The things that are followed by the noble people, and atmanaha tushtirevacha, and what pleases a person, what pleases every. So these are the four lakshanas, right? Now, uh, and then after some time, uh, then he goes to explain the same Manusmriti. Little ahead he says, Vedah smritihi sadacharaha swasya cha priyamatmanaha etat chaturvidham prahu sakshat dharmasya lakshanam. Now, Vedah, the earlier shloka said the same thing. Vedo kilo dharma moolam. Smritihi, smriti shilesha tadvidam. The previous shloka said that. Okay, then sadacharaha. Sadacharaha is what? Acharah cha eva sadhunam. Sadhunam acharah sadacharah. So, as you rightly said, sat acharah, satanam acharah, satam acharah. Like satam acharah. Satam is the sadhu people. So, sat acharah, satam acharah, sada acharah is the regular practice. You can't say, I will follow dharma today, I will give up tomorrow. It has to be sada, nirantara, always, consistency. It's not like in the morning I'll be a dharma practitioner, in the evening I will forget it. So something like that. I mean, we can't do that. It's also sada achara. Constantly practice sat achara, the truthful living, and sadhunam achara, satam achara, followed by the noble people. I think when we look at that word sadachara, that's why we have many, many granthas. They call themselves as sadachara smriti, sadachara grantha, sadachara anushtana, uh, ahnika manjari, sadachara ahnika manjari. There are different names they come, but sadachara is such a beautiful word. When I just saw that, I thought I'll spend some time on that, because there also there is sat in it, as much as we saw in this current shloka. So we have to look at shloka number 14, right? Ha. Harihi Om. Om Sarvatah Panipadam Tat Sarvato Kshishiro Mukham Sarvatah Shrutimaloke Sarvamavritya Tishtati. Sarvatah Panipadam Tat Sarvato Kshishiro Mukham Sarvatah Shrutimaloke Sarvamavritya Tishtati. When we see the Padacheda, we get Sarvataha Panipadam Tat Sarvataha Akshi Shiraha Mukham Sarvataha Shrutimat Loke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. Now, he is referring to the Jnaya, right? The one to be known, the one that has to be truly understood in all of this Jnana. Right? The previous shloka he says, Yat, no, Jnayam Yattat Pravakshyami. So now he is explaining that more about, after telling Anadimat Param Brahma Nasattanna Saduchyate. No, it is the Anadi, Parabrahma, and it is neither called Sat or Asat, or it is called as Asat, Sat and Asat, right? Uh, and that one, now it says Sarvataha Pani Padam Tat Sarvataha Akshi Shiraha Mukham Sarvato Kshishiro Mukham. There are sandhis, right? And Sarvataha Shrutimat Loke, Shrutimat Loke becomes Shrutimal Loke. Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. When we put them into a proper sentence, right, we get this Anvaya right above the Padacheda. Tat Sarvataha Pani Padam Sarvataha Akshishiraha Mukham Sarvataha Shutimat Loke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. What does that mean? Tat Sarvataha Panipadam. That which has hands and feet on every side. That is the tat is that pronoun, right? Referring to the Jnaya in the previous shloka. That Jnaya, which is also Parabrahma. That's what the previous shloka explains. So that Jnaya Parabrahma, that has hands and feet, Panipadam Sarvataha. It has its hands and feet in all directions. Hands and feet is basically the movement Yatkinch jagatyam jagat, the Ishavasya Upanishad says, right? Ishavasyamidam sarvam. It's there everywhere. And he's moving, there is movement everywhere. Not necessarily movement, he's just enveloped the entire thing. Right? Sarvataha Panipadam. So all the actions and all the movements are primarily happening on his hand and on his feet. We might be thinking we are moving, but basically it's his pada. We might be thinking we are doing some action, but that's basically that Parabrahma's Pani. Sarvataha Akshi Shiraha Mukham. Akshi is that object of perception, right? The eye. Sarvataha, everywhere he has eyes. Now, eyes is basically Upalakshana for for all sensory perceptions, right? I mean, like yesterday in Twitter, there was a joke floating around, about some people to look for a parking lot carefully. They lower the volume of the music system. And we have seen that happen many a times. Suddenly we are lost. Where is the parking space? Where is the parking space? And suddenly we end up reducing the music volume, right? And look at, so that's a nice joke. But basically, I think, yeah, it helps in concentration. I don't want the noise. Okay, let me focus on the space available, right? It could be, but Akshi is an Upalakshana. It's just the expression. Like when we say, I mean, idiomatically, when we say, look at this, like, look at me, like, hey, look, like, let's see. We use this word, right? Let's see. Dekhte hain, like, nodua. Like, when we use this word, it is not literally see as in see. No, let's behold. No, let's observe. No, let's pay attention. Something like that, right? Let's see. No, let's pay attention. Something like that. So Akshi is the Upalakshana for all sensory perception. Basically, he is the Sakshi. Gatir Bharta, Prabhu Sakshi, Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit. Like, we saw that, right? In the ninth chapter, Bhagavanta gave these descriptions about himself. So that Anadimat Param Brahma, this Param Brahma, who is the real Jnaya, he's got the Panipada Sarvataha, he's got the Akshi Shiraha Mukha Sarvataha. Akshi is the witness, right? Shira. Shira is the head. No, he is the one, basically uh, the one that basically commands, governs, is the head. And Mukham. Mukham is the, Vitata Brahmano Mukhe. Evam Bahuvidha Yajnaha Vitata Brahmano Mukhe. He is basically the one who is consuming everything. The consumer of all rasa, all essence that comes out of this creation, that comes out of this life. He is basically slurping it, gulping it, eating it. Mukham, that's the Mukham. Evam Bahuvidha Yajna, all these various types of Yajna, Karya, Kriyas are played out in Brahma's Mukha. So he's got the mouth everywhere, he's got the eye everywhere, he's got the head everywhere. Basically, he is observing everything, he is granting permission for everything, and he is basically consuming everything. Sarvataha Shrutimat. Sarvataha Shrutimat is basically, now he's got the ear everywhere, he is also hearing everything. Now, this is nice, right? On one side, we have the real prapancha. Shruti is also the Veda Akhila. Vedas are also called Shrutis. Sarvataha Shrutimat, as ordained in the Vedic. Vedas are basically Vidhi, the ordinances, right? These are the true ordinances of life. So basically, Sarvataha Shutimat, he's got the ears everywhere, of course. He's the one who's perceiving everything. He's observing everything, he's perceiving everything, but he's also got Sarvataha Shutimat, also got the ordinances everywhere, the Vedas. Loke, in this world, in these, Sarvam Avritya Tishtati, and in this world, he envelops everything, he embraces everything, he all encompasses everything, and stands. And Tishtati, and stands. So he stands after covering everything. No, Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva Atyatishtat Dashangulam. This is something that comes in the Purusha Sukta, right? He covers everything and then goes 10 inches beyond, something like that. I mean, that Sukta has some nice feel, some nice expressions. But basically, the Jnaya, we are still explaining the Jnaya, right? That Jnaya, which is the Parabrahma, which is the Anadimat, It has Panipada Sarvataha. It has his hands and feet everywhere. Basically, all actions or movements are his doing, or its, whether we call it his, her, or its. I think it's pronoun agnostic. I think we can keep it balanced, right? Sarvataha Akshishiraha Mukham. It's got the eyes, the head, and the face everywhere. Mukha can be face or mukha can be mouth. Can be both, right? Can be mouth everywhere, consuming everything. Sarvataha Shutimat, hearing everything. Loke Sarvam Avritya, and covering everything in this world, stands. Tishtati. Now, at one level, uh, this is interesting, right? Look at what's being conveyed in a very, very subtle manner. Now, this is a very, very creative intake. This is not to be taken very seriously, but look at it in a creative manner. Sarvatah Pani Padam Tat. Repeatedly in the 11th chapter, it talks about that Virata Purusha Rupa. Sahasrabahu Daravaktra Netram Pashyami Tvam Sarvato Nantarupam. So that Sarva, Bahu, Sahasra, they're all the same expression of countless, infinite hands, feet, mouth, eyes, stomach, face, head, Sahasra, Shirsha, Purushaha. When we look at some of the earliest available Bhashya, commentaries like Shanacharya Bhashya, clearly translate Sahasra as infinite, not as thousand. When the Purusha Sukta of the Rigveda gets translated, right? Sahasra Shirsha Purusha is not necessarily thousand, heads. It's countless heads. So this is Sahasra. Sahasra, Sarvataha. Sarva is also countless. Sarvam samapnoshi tatosi sarvaha. That explanation also comes in the 11th chapter. Basically, this is talking about the Virata Rupa, this shloka, right? This, what is that? Shloka number 14. Shloka number 14 talks about the Sahasra, that Virata Rupa, and in a way, it's also the Sahasrara Chakra. Sahasrara Chakra is also Sahasradala Chakra, right? The countless manifestations that come out, you just emerge from that. The topmost part of the Brahma Randra. The people are a little bit familiar about the seven chakras, right? The seven chakras, the topmost chakra is and that's the highest form of elevation we tend to seek when we climb up the path of yoga. The Sahasrara Chakra is what we tend to seek. I think Shivaji is in the audience. Maybe he can come up and show some, throw some tidbits on it. Please to come up on stage if you're having some good space. But basically, look at this shloka, right? Shloka number 14 gives us an indication that, Sarvataha Panipadam Tat Sarvato Kshishiro Mukham is somewhere hinting at that Sahasrara state. Rather than chakra, let's call it a state. Then the previous sloka, the one that we saw just before this, Jneyam Yattat Pravakshyami Yajnatvam Mritamashnute. So there is something called the Bindu Chakra. Little below the Sahasrara, there is something called the Bindu Chakra. Now, the Bindu Chakra, I mean, there is, for those people who practice the Hatha Yoga, I think Shraddhaji can give a little more on that. There is something called the Kechari Mudra. When you practice that, there is a Somarasa that you extract, Amrita. Normally, these juices are called Amrita, Soma, Amrita, and things like that. So now he's mentioning that Jneyam Yattat Pravakshami Yajnatva Amritamashnute, Amrita. So that's where the Bindu Chakra comes. But Bindu is basically in the same line as Ajna Chakra. Anadi Matparam Brahma Nasattanna Saduchyate. Ajna has those two, I mean, the representation of the Ajna comes in two leaves. Like, it's called the Guru Chakra. So this shloka is basically looking at, I mean, in a way, it kind of looks at the Ajna and the Bindu together, right? Bindu, the one from where, and both of these are in alignment to something called the pineal gland. We have something called the pineal gland, right? And then, so have some thought around it. I think, for me, it gives me some hint. The shloka number 14 is indicative of the Sahasrara state. Shloka number 13 is indicative of the Ajna Sthiti, because that's the Guru, Anadi Matparam Brahma, Asattanna Saduchyate, the two leaves of the Ajna Chakra. Adhyatma Jnana Nitya, look at the previous one. No, Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, that Ajnatma, so that's the Vishuddhi Chakra, right? Where we start activating beyond the material plane. we search the higher up mind consciousness, right? Activation of that, happens at the Vishuddhi Chakra. That jneyam yattat, adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnana darthanam. Look at the one before that. Mai chananya yogena bhakti ravyabhicharini. That avyabhicharini ananya bhakti is the true state of anahata. Anahata is all bhakti. That hriddesha, right? Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddesher juna tishtati. I mean, we keep hearing that, sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto. Like, we keep hearing that, the hriddesha is primarily the dwelling place of the Vamana. Vamana Rupi Bhagavanta. He is the one, because the time and Angushta Matra Purushaha, the Kataka lines and all, they talk about the Hriddesha. The Anahata Chakra is all about, and then he uses the Bhakti there, right? Mai Chananya Yogena Bhakti, and that's the highest state to unlock that Ananya Avyabhicharini Bhakti and Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. Once we activate that Ekanta Bhakta, Sridharacharya ji, who's also in the speaker panel, I think if you guys, I mean, Sridharacharya ji, come up if you're in good space. Now, this Ekanta Bhakta, like, Sridharacharya ji has a unfulfilled ambition in life to experience that Ekanta Bhakta. I think for me, it's a kind of feeling that comes in Bhagavata, right? Ekantino yasya na kanchanartam vanchanti evai bhagavat prapanna atyadbhutam tacharitam sumangalam gayanta ananda samudramagna. Go immerse yourself in this samudra. Like, be one with the float in that samudra. Ekant, so that's a very beautiful expression that comes in Gajendra Moksha. A very beautiful line that comes there. Like this Mayicha Ananya Yogena Bhakti Ravyabhicharini Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. I think it's an amazing expression of the Anahata Sthiti. Right? Asaktirana Bhishwangaha Putradara Grihadishu. That's the complete self-control, right? Samachittatvam, Nityancha Samachittatvam. That's the Manipura. The victory, the way we seek the victory, Jaya Jayo, uh, you know, uh, you know, Sukha Dukhe, Same Kritva, Labha Labho, Jaya Jayo. That's basically the whole essence of the Manipura. Rama Ravanayor Yuddham, Rama Ravanayoriva, something like that, right? So that's and then Indriyartheshu Vairagyam, completely staying away from the sense gratification urges, basically getting control over that carnal chakra, like, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam, understanding the transient nature, for all of these things, and that's where you really, really unlock that carnal, the swadhisthana, swa-adhisthana, like, you, uh, and then amanitva, adambhitva, ahimsa, shanti. These are all the, I mean, opposite of all of this is basically the animalistic instincts, like amanitva, like the monkey. The manitva, dambhitva is the monkey, typical monkey characteristic. They say, right, the kapi mushti, we call it, the monkey fished. The best way to release the kapi mushti is you lure it with some other object. It will release the other object very swiftly. There is another video of that. Amanit. So it basically that amanitva, adambhitva, ahimsa, without any kshama, arjava, complications. All of these are asthairia. All of these are typically the animalistic instincts, and that's what we overcome when we come to the primary mooladhara, the source of the human evolution. When we start ascending higher and higher and higher as better and better and better human beings, I think the first thing that we need to gain full control over is the mooladhara sthiti. I mean, I wouldn't call it as chakra, I would call it as sthiti, because that is where, I mean, mooladhara typically in many, many traditions, it is denoted by those four leaves, right? We typically understand that those four leaves are, outlining the four, core tenets of the animalistic kingdom, which is the nidra, maithuna, ahara, abhinivesha, all of these, insecurity, sense of insecurity. Overcome that, and that's where we become amanitva, adambhitva, ahimsa, shanti, arjava. When we look at this, when we overcome that any bit of sense of insecurity, so the last seven shlokas, in a way, I mean, at least for me, from the Mooladhara Sthiti to the Sahasrara, Sarvatah Pani Padam Tat Sarvato Kshishiro Mukham Sarvatah Shrutimaloke Sarvama Vrutyatishthati, that becoming pervading, one across everything. That city comes out very beautifully in a very, very subtle manner. Okay, that was just a creative take, but yeah, those of you who want to contemplate can also contemplate. And if there is anything further that can be added to this discourse, people are interested, please to come up on stage. We would love to have you here. Basically, this is a community study. A couple of us are just taking the lead in terms of reading it out loud. But yeah, let's help each other gain a little more than what we came to the room with. Right, so let's go to what Aurobindo says quickly. Namaste, Shivaji. Do you want to add something to this?
Yes, Bhartaji. Yes. So on the Sahasra Chakra, what happens is that till we don't reach the Sahasra Chakra, right, there is no thoughtlessness in our being, which means there is no real relief from the mind or the Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. So in the point when we explode above the head, there is the experience there of thoughtlessness, experience of extreme ecstasy, a million times of ecstasy of normal human, pains and pleasures, the little pleasures which we feel here. And also there's the experience first time of the beginning that it's not just the God consciousness within us or Krishna consciousness within us, but also the experience of Krishna also all around us. So, these experiences in Vedantic terms which we speak about, that all existences are in the self. Self is in all existences. Self has become all existences. So we feel then in that higher state, we feel all existences are in Krishna. Krishna has become all existences. Krishna is all existences. So those experiences which were earlier just mental concepts or ideas, they start becoming a reality. And we live in that then all the time. And then the trick from that point onwards is that we also start experiencing the same consciousness, this God consciousness above the head, also in dynamism, not just when we are sitting in isolated meditation, but all the time. So I think it's one of the greatest experiences of ecstasies, and the first time we can say the world to our thoughts has become dead. There is no world within us. World has no entry within us anymore for the first time, and this the state to focus on it is also in a certain way. If one way or the other we could get into a state of thoughtlessness, it's always in the Sahasra Chakra. Um, it cannot be done at the third eye level. It cannot be done at the center of the chest. It cannot be done at the Muladhara. There somehow we experience powers. We experience, you can say, great powers from Manomaya Purusha at the third eye levels. We experience great powers from the Pranamaya Purusha between the Muladhara and going upwards. We even can transmit spiritual energies into others. Those kind of siddhis and powers happens at the lower levels. But the lower levels have an importance because they create a foundation for a being. It's like there's a ground floor, first floor, second floor of a building, and then the penthouse comes. But that foundation from the physical to the spiritual, the lower levels always maintain. So even they have to be mastered and then transcended. But the mastery still has to be held, and with the mastery in the lower planes being held, one has to transcend and reach the upper planes and then hold this position in dynamism. So these are some ideas which I thought were important. Thank you, Bharti. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paji. That was very, very useful. In fact, there are some cultures in North India. I have heard this at least in few Biharis. They bless people with "Baki saal tum sab rasatal mein bhitoge," something like that. My Hindi is bad. Forgive me there, but rasatal is given as a blessing. You will be relegated to rasatal for the remaining of your life, something like that. That's just a casual note. Thanks for the Shivaji. Basically, the reason why I brought this creative intake is that while we believe that the whole purpose is to go closer and closer to the Shiva or the Krishna consciousness, right? The way we see here in Bhagavad-Gita. One point that I wanted to really bring out is that Krishna uses these concepts in a very, very casual sense throughout Bhagavad-Gita. Throughout Bhagavad-Gita, in some places we study the Kundalini, the different chakras, either the Sapta chakras or the Ashta chakras, as a very big subject in itself, right? In some places we study the Patanjala Sutras, as a big, study material in itself. In some places we study the Ashtanga Yoga, as a very detailed out study. But Krishna has essentially used all these concepts that comes everywhere, without really complicating in the usage of the jargon. There is no use of jargon. He just subtly brings them in as layman a term as possible in explaining things to Arjuna. So that was the whole reason why I brought it. But thank you very much, Shivaji. That was very, very needed. Yes, sometimes we even need the Mooladhara. It's not that we give up everything. Uh, and, 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 and very much thankful for explaining the state of the bliss. Thanks for that, Shivaji. With that, we move on to the next shloka, shloka number 15. Okay, Hari Om. And in the meanwhile, if anybody else wants to add something, please come in. Needless to say, this is a combined study room. If there is any cacophony, then we know we are a couple of mods out here. We know how to manage. So there is no cacophony. You can all come and join in any moment you feel like. It's all good learning that we all anticipate. Okay. With that, we move on to the next shloka. Hari Om. Om. सर्वेन्द्रियगुणाभासं सर्वेन्द्रियविवर्जितम् असक्तं सर्वभृत्यैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च सर्वेन्द्रियगुणाभासं सर्वेन्द्रियविवर्जितम् असक्तं सर्वभृत्यैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च. So let's see the padacheda. Sarva indriya guna abhasam. Sarva indriya vivarjitam asaktam sarva bhrit cha eva nirgunam gunabhoktru cha. How does it sound when we put it into a sentence? Sarva indriya guna abhasam sarva indriya vivarjitam asaktam sarva bhrit eva cha nirgunam gunabhoktru cha. So there is more explanation coming about that jnaya. We are now looking at the object of knowledge, right? I mean, we might be gaining a lot of knowledge, lot of transient knowledge, lot of surface level understanding of many, many things in this world. What is it all trying to convey? I think step by step we are coming there, right? First he said it is the same jnaya which is the anadi matpara brahma. It is the same jnaya which is called as both sat and asat. It is the same jnaya which has a sarvatah panipadam, sarvatah akshishiramukham, sarvatah shrutimat, sarvam avritya tishtati. It's all encompassing. Now this shloka, sarva indriya gunabhasam, sarva indriya guna abhasa, sarva indriya vivarjita, asakta, sarva bhrit cha eva, nirguna guna bhoktrucha. What does that mean? Sarva indriya guna abhasa, reflecting through the senses and their qualities. Abhasa, reflecting through the senses and their qualities. Sarva indriya guna. Basically, he is the abhasa from the through the reflected through the indriya guna, or it can be also understood as he is the abhasa, he is the reflection, he is the luminance in all indriya guna. Basically, for indriya guna to come out to play, okay, the indriya gunas will be known only because of his bhasa. Bhasa is that prabhasa, bhasa, abhasa, bhaswate, bhaskara, the light, basically the illumination, right? Natad bhasayate surya, we see that, right? Later in the 15th chapter. Bhasa is the light, right? He is the light in every indriya guna. He is the jnana of the indriya guna. He is the one who makes the indriya gunas known, or he is the one who is reflecting through the indriya gunas. This website says one. It can be understood another way also, right? I mean, I was just trying to give another way. Sarva indriya vivarjita, but he doesn't have any senses on his own. Like the way to be understood, I think we are jumping the line, but fortunately we have seen that. That 15th chapter is where we started this entire Pratipadartha, right? Shrotram chakshuh sparshanam cha rasanam granam evacha adishthaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate. He is the Adhipati who has activated the ears, the eyes, the skin for the touch, all of the sense organs and the manas. He has activated, he has granted, and he is enjoying it through our sense organs. So he doesn't have any senses himself, but he is the one who is reflecting through the experiences of these Indriya Gunas, who is consuming them, or he is the one who makes us realize the. See, some of us, even with the Indriyas, we will not be able to get the proper taste. Basically, the Indriya Abhimani Devata is gone off, switched off. So he's the real force behind all of these different Indriya Abhimani Devatas is this Parabrahma, that real Jnaya. That's what we are. And hence, the light, the light that illumines even the Indriya Guna to come out as a knowledge for all of us, that light is that Jnaya. He is the one who's providing them. So he is the Abhasa, Indriya Guna Abhasa. Now, that's this beautiful word, right? Abhasa. Abhasa is the word, one of the, what is that sutra? I forgot. In the Brahma Sutra, there's a Abhasa Sutra. Is it just that word? Yeah. One of the popular ones used to establish the Adhyasa Sutra, the concept of superimposition. There is a Abhasakas Kosya Pavana. So he's basically the reflection on everything. Yeah, that's another concept, parallel thought. Okay, I'll perhaps get a little more clearer on this. But Abhasa, there is a Brahma Sutra which talks about him being the reflection in everything. Right? There is a Brahma Sutra line also that talks about the Abhasa. Okay, Asaktam, he is disinterested, unattached. But he is Sarva Bhritya. But he is the one who is the Bhritya, Bibarthi. Bibarthi is the one who supports everything. Bibartyavyaya Ishvara is something that we hear later in the 15th chapter. He is the one who is Bhrit, like Bharta. Bharta, you see, not my name, but Bharta, right? Like Bharti in Kannada we said, when we want to fill up an application, filling up, like the husband is also called the Bharta, right? The one who fills, Brit. So that's the activity, the one who fills, one who supports. And he is Nirgunam. He is not limited to qualities. He is beyond the gunas, Sattva, Rajo, Tama Guna. He is Nirguna, but he is the Guna Bhoktra. He is the enjoyer of the mixture, the effect of these Guna mixes. And what are these Guna mixes, we will see little later. Right? When talking about the Prakriti Purusha, I think he will give a little more on the Gunas. And I think the following chapter is all about Gunas. I think and the following chapter doesn't begin with any new question from Arjuna. It's a continuation. Sorry, Arjuna. Right? It's a continuation. There is no Arjuna Uvacha at the beginning of the 14th chapter. So 14th chapter, at least the first 20 shlokas, is in a way an extension of this chapter. So the gunas will be explained very, very nicely. So we will hold any questions on guna to a later time because we'll touch them in the 14th chapter. Right? Okay, let's quickly summarize this. So, more and more about the Jnaya, right? He is the Parabrahma, Anadi, Sarvataha Panipada, Makshishira Mukham, all of this, okay? Now, he is the light, he is the knowledge light of all the Indriya Guna, and he is the one to be known through them. See, known through them, that he is reflected through them, people might find it a little difficult. I think in Uddhava, Krishna explains this to Uddhava nicely. I think after the 11th chapter, I think if we are serious about Bhagavad-Gita, I think it's always useful to keep Uddhava Gita as an augmentative study. It gives a lot of extra clarifications. And I say 11th chapter is because it looks to me at least that the state in which Arjuna gets transformed to during the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is the state in which Uddhava is at the beginning of Uddhava Gita. He's already at that high level. He's not in the Vishada state like the way Arjuna was. At the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was in a very, very abysmal state. Right? He had lost it. Right? But Uddhava is little different. So for Uddhava, he explains Maya. Nashwaram Grihyamanam cha yadidam यदिदं मनसा वाचा चक्षुर्भ्यां श्रवणादिभिः नश्वरं गृह्यमाणं च विद्धि माया मनोमयम्. So basically we have to understand Maya. We can't just keep ignoring saying that she is Nashwara, this is just a transient experience, this is nothing, and things like that. What Krishna is telling Uddhava, is twofold. One, okay, manasa vacha chakshusha shravanadibihi, though she is nashvara, she is grahyamana, she is perceivable, and she is perceivable by the manas also. Vidhi maya manomayam, she is a manomaya. Manomaya has two connotations. She can either create apaharana of the manas, or she can be understood through the manas, right? Because and the reason why we need to talk about one of the meaning of the word Maya is jnana. It's Bhagavan's own jnana. And this jnaya, we are talking about jnaya now, the one to be known in the jnana. See, our perception is only on the jnana, and through that perception we have to know something beyond. And that is something that he explains a little later to Uddhava. You know, Grihyamanair gunair linkaihi agrahyam anumanatah jneyah. There is an inferential deduction that we need to do. So, whatever is Grihyamana, which is the Manomaya, which is the Jnana, the Maya, the Jnanamayi, the Manomayi, Maya Jnana, whatever we perceive through the Jnanendriyas, it is lingatmaka. Lingaihi gunaihi, she's atmika, like she's got the gunas and the lingas. Okay, but since she's been the grahyamana, she's the one that need to be understood, the proper jnana. Through anumanataha, the real import, the real knowledge need to be understood through the anumana. The grihyamanai gunai lingaihi agrahyam, the one that is agrahya, that one that is not graspable, perceivable. Because this akshara avyakta, the real parabrahma, the way it is explained is avyaktoyam, achintyoyam, avikaryoyam. It's indescribable. Agrahya. Okay, the agrahya can be understood through the anumana paddhati, through the inferential deduction of what is being perceived through direct perception. So we have to know that. And now in this shloka, Krishna is laying down the markers. So all the indriya gunas that you experience through the through the indriyas, the light of it is the Bhagavan. The Bhagavan is the one who is reflecting them. And through reflecting them, he is helping us get his own reflection out upon us. So if we bring both the types of translation together, he is the one who's helping the Indriya Guna to get reflected. And in that reflection, he is perhaps helping us to get a bit of reflection of his own light. At the end of the day, we have to learn him. I might be eating jamun, I might be reading something, I might be talking on the clubhouse, but we can't miss the big picture. The big picture is that we have to learn about that Parabrahma, that real Jnaya. And in that process, Krishna is laying the marker, saying that, he is the one who's lit up all the Indriya Gunas for himself to be lit up little later by our inferential study, Anumanataha. And he is the Indriya Vivarjita. He doesn't have any Indriya by himself. He is Asakta Sarvabhrit Nirguna Gunabhoktru. And Gunabhoktru is very simple, right? It's been coming out multiple times. No, Aham hi sarva yajnana bhokta cha prabhureva cha. This is something that he mentioned in the 9th chapter. Repeatedly, he's mentioned about he is the bhoktru of everything. Let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says. All the senses and their qualities reflect him, and he illumines all the senses and their qualities also. That's another thing that we forgot, right? All the senses and qualities are reflect are reflected by him and are reflecting him, but he is without any senses. He is unattached, yet all supporting. Sarvabhrit. He is the enjoyer of the gunas, though not limited by them. Okay, we will not move to the next shloka. From shloka number 16, we will check them in the next next week's session. Next Saturday, we will have the session to look at shloka number 16 onward. This brings us to the conclusion. We will adjourn the session with this shloka. Any thoughts? Please let us know. This is something that we do as a word-by-word study of the Gita shlokas every week. Every day we have the Parayana. We firmly believe that it's quite important for us to clearly understand what shlokas, what words are being spoken by Bhagavan in every, not just be content with reading the translation. So we have 7 days of Parayana, chanting practice, and once a week we meet for Artha Chintana. In the last year and a half or so, we have come till this path. This is the last Shatka. Hopefully, in about 6 months or so, we should be done with the entire Bhagavad-Gita. Any thoughts, any questions, any further, clarifications? Please do come up on stage. Again, everyone, for joining us. So, with that, we conclude for today. Please do spread the word for those one or two people. Basically, 7 days of Gita Parayana, where we do the guided chanting of the Gita shlokas to help ourselves get better and better and better with our ability to locate the words, not with any other point of view. Our ability to locate the words will be much better when we keep chanting the shlokas, and that's the only way. There is no shortcut. And try to look at the words in as many different ways as possible, and try to gain as much a good understanding as possible. I mean, there is never enough of how much we can do the Gita Artha Chintana. With this exercise, we hope that our foundation becomes quite good enough to begin our Adhyatma journey. So, with that, on the reverse count of three, let's conclude the room. Those of you who can, please join me in a small Jai Ghosti in the name of our Gita Acharya Bhagavan Sri Krishna. 3, 2, 1. Namaste Vasudevaya Preyasame Priyottama Samasta Guna Sampurna Nirdosha Nandadayini Mukopi Yat Prasadena Mukunda Shayanayate Rajarajayate Rikto Raghavendram Tamashraye Bharati Ramana Mukhya Pranam Karata Shri Gopala Krishna Priyatam Krishna Arpanamastu. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai
Jai
Shri
Shri
Krishna.
Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna.